Hello everybody, and I'm back. Yeah, sorry, I've been gone for a very long time. For any of you used to watch my videos, yeah, missing. Sorry about that. I mean, like, things happen, you know. And honestly, my computer broke. I've been working 6 days a week. I've had a new baby. I know I'm looking good for it, right? Yeah, so my missus, you know, whatever. But yeah, this is SwitchBlade the game, now available free on PlayStation and Steam. Yeah, let's get straight to it. So the way that the tier list works for SwitchBlade is you've got the SS rank, which is insta-pick, nerf, incoming or broken. The S rank, which is first pick / OP choices. The A, which is balanced / powerful. The B, which is close to balanced / skillful. The C, which is teamwork needed / underpowered. Now, all pretty basic, but what you need to bear in mind is that although there is SS and there is C, doesn't necessarily mean that S is the beast and C is the least. There are, you know, reasons everything is in its own place, you know. So as a quick look before we get into all the vehicles, because I'm going to run through all the vehicles bit by bit, trying to talk to you a little bit more about the reasons of why I've actually placed them in each section, because, you know, there are good reasons. Right, now, what I've done is I've put myself in game so that for anyone that actually wants to know how to look at this themselves, it's over here. You run from the start over to collection, click the button, move across to vehicles, and then as you click on them you can get several different bits of information about them. You can get the overview, the skins, the mastery rewards and the abilities. So we're going to click to the abilities on each of the vehicles. This is the Porcupine. Now, the Porcupine at the moment is SS rank as he was last season. Tier list. I'm sorry, I'm just tired. I can't help it. Right. Porcupine, absolute beast. The reason that he's SS is not necessarily because he's an all-win-all situation kind of a vehicle. He's not going to go into every fight and destroy everybody. But his kit is amazing and works together perfectly well. His primary is a lock-on primary, which means that you just fire it simply at them and hold it on them. It's more like a tether. He's got the overdrive, which is a speed boost that works for him and mobs and players around you on your team. You've got the thunder mines you can drop down on the floor, which do awesome damage and give a steering lock to the enemy. And his super lockdown storm is very good, bit short, but very powerful and able to lock people down into one single place. Brilliant. All over. He's just absolute beast at the moment. With his lockdown storm though, I must bear in mind with people, drop it in front of people as they're driving, not where they are at the point you meet them. But that way you'll make sure you grab them into it. Nice and easy. Yeah. This is the Sundog. The Sundog is he's one of the newer vehicles in the game. His primary is a rapid fire primary that is a bit like a machine gun really, but it gets more machine guns as it levels up. So it gets more and more powerful. So it starts off as a decent weapon. By the end of the game is the best primary in the game. He's got the nano banner. Sorry, I'm absolutely losing it. Again, every video, I said, every video, too tired. Nano barrier, you can drop on the ground. It heals you and players and mobs around you. Brilliant. You've got the fusion core, which is one of the best mob clears in the game. You throw that on forward, it's like a little sun, and it'll do a lot of AoE damage to anything that's near. And his super solar flare is a beam, a bit of a Kamehameha, you know, that pushes back and does massive amounts of damage. So that's pretty awesome. Now we've got the Sidewinder. The Sidewinder is a rocket vehicle, and out of all the fighters it's a bit more of a long range one compared to the rest. It can be close range if you've got both your mag shield and your super up. Excuse me. His primaries are micro missiles. They are reasonable speed firing missiles that home in on the enemy as long as you've got a lock on them. Now, lock-on works brilliantly at distance. It's difficult to lock on to something that's fast-moving near you. So you generally want to be a little bit farther away, mid to long-range battles. His strike missiles are absolute beast, with a lot of damage in a quick amount of time, also lock-on, very nice and easy to use. His mag shield is the best shield in the game at the moment, and shields are in a very strong place. His mag shield is practically unbeatable. What it does, you put it up, it'll block anything that's in front of him, won't work from behind, but will in front block anything, and it will suck in that power, and then once it's done on its cooldown it will throw back the damage at them. Well, that's brilliant, but mainly the fact that it just blocks supers brilliantly is awesome. His Super Deadly Circus is one of the most powerful long range supers in the game, and arguably one of the easiest to use, and just makes him an absolute beast at wiping things out. Towers, players, mobs, anything he fancies really. Excellent. I absolutely love the sidewinder at the moment. It has been lower in the past, in all honesty, but now way above. People playing him constantly. He's brilliant, really. And let me just find my place. Where is my next character? Here we go. Kamikaze. Now the Kamikaze is, Kamikaze's always been in a good place thanks to his super, because it's just brilliant. But at the moment he's doing very good. I think it's because of the changes on other vehicles and whatnot, but somehow he's just managed to go through the ranks. His primary is a rapid fire weapon, nice and easy to use, powerful, decent, mid to short range, alright at long range but not massively useful. His Hornet missile is an absolute beast. That's a homing in missile that does decent explosive damage, which means it can do a little bit of excess AoE damage around it, not too far, but handy. His fusion charger is a self boost, which is very good at the moment for escapes and closing in on the enemy, especially if you're using your super Final Sacrifice. His Final Sacrifice is an AoE explosion that will blow himself up near the enemy and then take him back to the base and give a very small cooldown before you reset again and come back out. Brilliant. Yeah, right, a bit late there. Thunder Pulse. Thunder Pulse is similar in a way, but very different in others. He's also a fighter. His primary is very similar. He's got a rapid fire primary. His missiles are very good. They are pretty decent damage dealing missiles. His tractor beam at the moment is what makes him so good though. It's a slowdown that can grab onto the enemy and literally stick them to the ground. Now, not only just for you using your super, which we'll talk about in a moment, but for your teammates. At the moment, this is very powerful for locking down players and absolutely destroying them with them having very little to do about it. If you want to get out of that, by the way, get yourself a speed boost as an item that you can drop down on the ground. Keep one of those ready in case he tractor beams you to try and get away. His Super Thunder Pulse is a short range AoE that does lightning damage around his vehicle in pulses, and it's massively damaging close range super. Excellent. Fortress, like I said, Fortress has always been much lower down in the ranking. At the moment, he's in a very good place. Shields are doing well at the moment, and the rest of his kit is very nice. He is a tank, and the tanks are all very good at the moment, and they all do their own particular type of tanking, and it really is, there's massive differences between them all. He's got the assault shotgun, which is a close range weapon. Shotguns are very powerful up close, useless at distance. Simple, it's a shotgun. You've got a flamethrower, again, it's a close range weapon. When anyone that's near you will get flamed to death, and it does do a decent amount of damage. Now, if you use his shield bulwark, I can never say that word. If you use that, it's a large shield that throws up in front of your vehicle, but bear in mind you can't use any other abilities while doing it. But it's the largest health shield in the game, only beaten by Mag Shield because it's invincible. And this one, you can throw it up in front of you and protect your mobs, protect yourself, protect players, blah blah blah. His super is an absolute beast that does a massive amount of damage but locks you down into one place. Late again, Sniper Prince. Sniper Prince, he has a long-range rifle which shoots slower than a lot of the other weapons in the game, but very powerful for each hit. Just imagine it as a boom, wait, boom, wait, boom, yeah. You know, long-range weapon, brilliant. His barrage is slow-firing missiles that do fire damage. They are slow-firing, that's a bit pants, but when they get to the enemy, they do a decent amount of damage, and the flames help stop shields from coming back round too fast. He's got a shield at the moment, which makes him very powerful. It's not a very high health shield, but you can use your abilities while it's up, so that's a bonus. His super, Shotgun Storm, very quickly deploys a massively powerful super shotgun that will just beast out, again, while you can still use your other abilities. So that's just, I mean, he deserves his place at the moment. He's never been there before, but he's strong, he's great. Just use him properly, don't get too close to the enemy unless your super's up. Healing Hippo. Healing Hippo, like I said earlier, is the easiest of all the support class to use. He's got a primary dual tether, which means that it's a lock-on weapon that will either heal your mobs, towers, not your main towers, but your little turrets, and your players, or he can attack with his tether to enemies as well. He's got a missile balloon he can drop down on the ground, which is a deployable balloon that does damage wherever anyone that goes into the area. He's got a harpy drone, which is like a little plane that goes just above him. to do decent damage constantly that you don't really have to worry about. You just throw it out, it helps you out. That is quite powerful. I tend to put points into that. And then you've got the super healing roar, which is one of the best heals in the game, that does a massive AoE heal that will save a lot of your teammates and can also pass through walls. So if you're on the other side of something, and you can just see them round the corner, you can still hit them with it, which is something that the other healers can't really heal through walls. It's not easy for them. Flaming Blade. Now the Flaming Blade, although a lot of people will be like, oh, it should be an S rank, you know, yeah, I mean, Flaming Blade is very good all round. As far as not including supers go, it could be one of the best in the game, but when you include the supers, you have to drop him a little bit. His primary is a rapid fire weapon, nice and good, very powerful, very useful. His Hellfire missiles are one of the best missiles in the game. I absolutely love those. They're homing in and set things on fire. I often put all my points into this one, whereas a lot I'll put points into other bits on different vehicles. This one I just pile points into that because the missiles are amazing. The Afterburner is a self speed boost, which again is very helpful for getting in close to people and getting away. Moving around the map nice and fast. And his super Flaming Blade. Now this puts Flaming Blades, didn't guess it, did you? All the way around the vehicle. Now, they're good and bad because they do decent damage, but it's not massive like most supers. It lasts for quite a long amount of time, but I would focus with this one, if you're going to use the Flaming Blade, on things like the Healing Hippo and the Tiny Giant, because they're big opponents with very little to defend against, big health pool, and you can wipe them down. Anyone else will fight you in that amount of time quite badly. Right. So then we've got the Tiny Giant. The Tiny Giant, whoa, has a Juno lead. Now this is working in the same way as the Healing Hippo. You can either tether to your players, or mobs, or little turrets to heal, or you can go on to the enemy to attack. He's got the War Balloon that can drop down on the ground, that again attacks an AoE for you, very handy. He's got the Heal Balloon, which is unique to him having one because there is an item for it, but he has his own personal one. The Healing Balloon could drop on the ground and do an AoE heal for people, which is actually very good, and I would recommend putting points into it, bear in mind he's a healer. You could also go for War Balloon if you need a bit more damage, but generally you want to focus on your roll. It's your choice, I don't care. His super Tiny Giant is one of the maddest in the game. It turns you tiny, makes you untargetable, so they have to auto-fire against you and try and find you. Now bearing in mind you are tiny, it's like turning an elephant into a mouse. It's pretty cool. It does speed you up, so it's good for getting around the map, good for escapes, and just good for being a nuisance. And you can also, when you're in this mode, push people round. So you can push the opponents into the big towers for a good whack and into your own player supers. Nice. It's handy. Now, this is the Berserker. The Berserker is debatably better than where I've put him, but it's debatable, and this is where I've chosen him, so whatever. The Howitzer is a long-range rifle, so very much like the Sniper Prince, it does slow but high-firing long-range damage, very nice. You've got the Atlas Missile, which is a it sets them on fire. I don't know if it's a homing. Is it a homing? I don't think it's a homing. It sets people on fire, and it does a decent amount of damage, in all honesty. It's quite nice and fires quickly and easily. The Molotov is one that fires in a line and does damage across that line. So it's great for getting rid of a load of mobs or attacking over a rock to another player or mobs. His super, Berserker, it increases the attack speed of your primary weapon, increases the attack damage of it, increases the speed of your vehicle, and gives you a little bit of damage resistance. I mean, it's all in all just an absolute beast of a super. It gives you everything you need. I mean, what more do you want? The Fog Hog. Now the Fog Hog in my recent list has always been quite close to the top with Safeguard, but since he also suffered a lot of the nerfs that Safeguard did, he had to be dropped a little bit, although debatably he still has one of the most useful supers in the game, and never underestimate it. It will turn the tide of battle, even though not on tides and we're on asphalty, grassy kind of stuff, you know. Anyway, so he's got a heavy cannon, which is an absolute beast of a medium range weapon, does plenty of damage nice and fast. You've got the triple threat missiles, which do very nice damage and do a bit of explosive damage, so a little bit of damage random, great for getting rid of mobs or hitting players. Now his Skin of Stone is where he gets really strong as a tank, because Thanks to the Skin of Stone, he can negate a lot of damage against him, which is great for high damaging supers and just long-winded fights. He stays in and he pushes for you. His Fog of War also gives him damage resistance. Put these two together and you practically make him invincible for a quick moment. It'll also give it to your teammates as well, and obscure vision so that your enemy cannot see quite as well through the fog. Also, lock-on primaries no longer work. So you've literally turned off Porcupine, Healing Hippo and Tiny Giant. All of those can't aim through the fog. But buggers. Especially harsh on Porcupine. Great counter to him. I mean, I love it. It's fun, you know. So, Vampire. Now, the Vampire has always been a very difficult one to place in the list. The Vampire has a short range kit. I mean, very short range kit. But it's a tank, and short range, it does what it does amazingly well. Some people reckon this one should be up in S rank. I've even had people say SS rank, and it's not going to happen. Because his fallback on not being able to do range damage is a massive problem, whether we want it to be or not. There's a decent sized map that we're fighting on, and he can just be easily taken down from a distance by one of your backliners, one of your slayers, whatever you fancy. You know, you're using a fighter, boom, just stay a distance, you know. But his primary is a shotgun that does a lot of close range damage. He's got the frag dispenser, which is a let me just move around here. I think I'm getting dead legs or some poopies. His frag dispenser is like grenades that he throws forward for a decent amount of time, and they give him heals for the damage he does. His Mesmer Flash is very much like Thunderpulse, slows him down to a massive amount, and is again massively useful in the game at the moment. And his Vampire Kiss, when coupled with this, is amazing because it does a lot of close range damage, but not too close range. It's decent. It's a medium-ish range around his vehicle. Nice and obvious what your distance is as well, thanks to the special effects. But it doesn't just do damage, it heals you at the same time as doing damage. So a sustain he's got, damage he's got, he just hasn't got any distance and speed. He's got no escape or anything like that, you know. But overall he's amazing. Now, this is the sore point for me. Safeguard. I used to love playing Safeguard. I mean, everyone loved playing Safeguard. I mean, he needed a nerf. It's fair. He did. He needed a nerf. Where he sits at the moment doesn't make him unplayable, but it doesn't make him a first pick anymore, because now he's more of an all-rounder tank that's good at everything, but not necessarily amazing at any of it, if you know what I mean. I'd still class him as a very good pusher. If you're going to use a tank for a push, take him. He's an absolute beast. If your super's up, you keep yourself almost unkillable. A lot of other attack supers can't even break through it because it's such a good self-heal. But anyway, his primary is a reasonable firing fast cannon. He's got these smart missiles, which are homing in, which makes them very easy to use. And he's got the Sentinel drones. Now, any of the old players know that Sentinel drone used to be one little flying plane, just like the Healing Hippo, that you put above you. Now, on a decent cooldown, but you can actually bring out two. Now, they can be shot down, but if people aren't paying attention to them, they can do a lot of damage. Especially if you pop round a corner at someone, they haven't got time to take them down, you can take them down nice and easy, and you've got the backup of your super. So if you bring one out, wait for the cooldown, bring the second one out, you've then got two out, and they are, you know, decently powerful. And again, they're auto aim. You don't have to worry about them. You just have them flying above your vehicle, and brilliant. When one dies, throw another one up. Hopefully, you won't get focused down too much and lose both on them, because that's not very handy. But his super rebirth does a massive heal for himself and for the players around you. Now, it's not as good as a Healing Hippo or an Angel for a super heal, but it is still very good, and he's a pusher. He should be front line pushing and forcing forward to get that tower down. You know, he's the front line, so he does front line. He does it. I mean, what can I say? A lot of changes, but he's still very, very good. I wouldn't hate on him too much. He's just not SS anymore. Right, so then we've got the Electron. Now, the Electron is also a very debatable vehicle. A lot of people think that he should be higher. Some people think that he should sit where I've put him. He's very debatable because he's good. But if you're not coordinating with your team, or some kind of magical pixie that can hit all of your abilities and get all the damage off on everything every single time, he's difficult. He's got a long range primary, like the Sniper Prince and the Berserker, which is very good. They always work, stay at a distance, do a lot of damage. His Plasma Torpedo is a nice damaging thing that will hit a decent amount of things at once. You know, it's a nice little ball. Yes, special effects. I'm full of it. Then Orbital Strike. That orbit thing. Strike is like a beam that comes down from a satellite in the sky and goes stays there for a while. Now it's arguably as good a wave clear as Sundog's Sun, but harder to use in a actual player versus player situation. Because it sticks in one place and they can just drive straight out of it, unless you've had one of your players on your team use the slowdown ability by either the Vampire or the Thunder Pulse, you're going to struggle to get that damage on them at all, so you're going to want to focus on your Plasma Torpedo and Primary. But if you've got your Super up, his Super is an absolute beast and very unique compared to other Supers. It does a chain attack. So it has a reasonably close range for its first attack, but then it can chain that one to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, and as you level it up, you can even increase the amount of chains it can do. So it can technically chain between players, the little turrets, and mobs, and you can technically hit them all in a line, doing a whole lot of damage. I mean, that's great for when people are grouped up doing a big push, but again, you need help with him, he's awkward. Right. Gravitron. Gravitron is the strongest healer in the game. Now I say that as in he puts out the most heals. He's not got a massive health pool, but he does have a passive that's a self-repair. So he heals himself, which is quite handy. Didn't always used to have that, but he has that now, and that honestly makes a big difference to him when trying to sustain your team. It helps you sustain yourself, because that used to be his major problem. He was the best healer in the game, but struggled for no one was keeping him alive. His primary is the only, I believe, the only primary in the game that cannot attack at all. It only tethers onto your players on your team to heal, but it does it amazingly well. He's got his little missiles that he can fire. Most people only put 1 point into this because they are little tickly missiles. They're not very good, but I have known people put all the points into the missiles, and then the cooldown becomes so small that it's like using it as a primary, so it gives you a bit of a primary weapon. But I'd argue that he's a healer, and you're going to want that Healing Blast, the next one, which is a decent AoE heal that very quickly booms a quick heal out to people next to you. And that comes down on quite a regular cooldown, so I put my points into that because it's an excellent heal, hence why he's one of the best healers in the game. His Super Singularity is a black hole that you drop down on the map. Now, this is one of the best CC abilities in the game. It will pull people towards the middle and hold them there for a very long time. You can't particularly do anything to them because you're not a damage character, but your team can then absolutely destroy them in terrible, terrible ways. It's so sad. Angel. Now, Angel is the newest vehicle in the game at the moment, at the point of doing this list. Now, Angel is, again, like the Gravitron, a pure support vehicle. So like Gravitron, he has to be lower down on the list because supports, although easy in the idea of healing and protecting people, is never actually easy in practice, and you get a lot of hate for being a bad healer. So anyway, he has the passive Radiance, which is constant healing for the people around him in an AoE. Now, you don't do anything for this, it's not a cooldown or anything, it's just constant, and himself. So he's got a constant heal, maintaining himself and people that are next to him. So you can just place yourself plonk right behind them, especially a tank, and keep healing them nice and easy. Now, your primary is not a heal anymore, like all the other healers, but you have the Seraph Blaster. Now, this is a little tickly weapon that throws out discs, and a bit like Gravitron's missiles on the first level, quite useless. But what you can do with both the missiles on the Gravitron, I should mention it, and this one, the Seraph Blaster, is use it to attack the enemy while you're healing your teammate, because that will stop their shields from recharging. If you can keep the damage up on them, even though you're not really doing much damage, any damage will stop shields from recharging. So you keep them from being a major problem to your teammates. And that's a big part of sport. You've got to think of all the different types. The healing, the body blocking, when to use your abilities. Should you be selfish and save yourself, or should you die, respawn, and then come back and save someone else? Probably the second one. But we all selfishly save ourselves because we're just selfish, evil people. You know, that's probably why he gets so much hate. I like to heal. I do. Anyway, so you've got the Sanctuary. Now the Sanctuary makes you momentarily invincible. You're untouchable, absolutely. Just, I mean, what can I say? You're untouchable, yo. What? Body blocking. Body blocking is a big part of being a sport, and what that means is getting in front of someone and taking the damage for them, so you can save your player while their cooldowns are coming back round, or a big super's coming at them and you take the hit so they can get away. Now Sanctuary allows you to do that with this vehicle without the cons of most vehicles having to die to that damn super. He can just take the entire thing. You've wasted a super for the enemy. They're on a massive cooldown. They're disappointed. They're raging at the screen, throwing the controller. You know how raging goes. I don't rage much. Then you've got the Super Guardian. Now Super Guardian is kind of like getting Sanctuary and Divinity and the passive Radiance and throwing them all together in a big slap bang boom fang bang thing. You know, it's great. What it does is it does a heal that's so fast that pretty much no damage can get through it. Makes you invincible, not the people around you, but like I say, the heal is so fast that you practically can't damage through it. So the best way to get anyone dead is to wait until it's either over or push them out of the way with a tiny giant or a sundog or super. You know, there's not much else. So then we've got the Goofer. Now the Goofer, yeah, I know, is right at the bottom of the list, and I'm sorry, I am, but I like him. I like playing Goofer. He's a lot of fun. Now, he is a massive teamwork needed kind of character. He's not at the bottom of the list because he's necessarily crap. It's because without actually communicating with your team, some of his abilities just don't work as well. So let's work through them, I'll tell you why. So you've got the primary, which is a little damaging auto thing, a bit like your fighters, but less powerful, but it's alright. You've got the stealth, which is where his Goofer really shines. He becomes invincible. No, it doesn't. He becomes invisible. He's a little ghosty character that will fly around the map, annoying people. Now, if you max this out on points, put all your points into it, you can get a cooldown that means that a couple of seconds after you come out of your invincibility, if you time it right, you can go back into invisibility. You also, when you come out of it, get a little bit of a crit boost, so you do more power with your primary. So that's handy. That makes him a massive annoyance and just brilliant at what he does, but the Jammer, the next one, is probably one of the main reasons, and the Goo, that he's not necessarily a solo vehicle. I mean, it's fun as a solo vehicle, but in a solo ranked, you need to really communicate with your team to tell them, or just hopefully try and place yourself doing something that they can see what you're doing. So the Jammer, so what it does is it jams the enemy primary weapons so they can't use the primaries momentarily. Brilliant for when you're doing an anti-push or a push yourself. So what you do is there's a group of them, you jump in, you throw that down, stops their weapons, you go invincible again and run off. Maybe throw your goo down. The goo is super, I'm running a bit behind now, throws a whole load of goo all over the map that does damage resistance for your allies, obscures the vision for the enemy, and does damage to them as well if they're stuck in the goo. Right, bit behind there. So we've got the Mob Buddy. Now the Mob Buddy is very similar, that he's not necessarily bad, but he does need teamwork just the same for similar reasons. But he's a very different character to play in the game, vehicle as it were. His primary, again, is alright, not massively damaging, but it does its job. It's not something that I would hate on. I do quite, it's alright. Now his Mimic is where he's very unique. He actually turns himself into an enemy car momentarily, gains a lot of damage resistance, can't be locked onto because they think he's an enemy vehicle, so even though they can shoot at you if they realise what you are, they do less damage and it's not easy for them to shoot you. So that's good, but it has a long cooldown, so that's not as good. I'm hoping they're going to have a little bit, just knock a couple of seconds off that. That'd be nice. Then we've got the Shield Break. The Shield Break is very much like Goofer's a jammer, you jump in, you drop it, and that one will wipe out a decent amount of their shields. Again, in a push or an anti-push, or just a basic battle where you're helping someone out, dropping shields is pretty massive, because that's a instant, there goes some health, as it were. So that's good, but once he's got in there, he's mimicked in, he's shield breaked, and then he's left himself, you know, he's stuck. He hasn't got a speed boost that he has naturally, so you'd have to throw down an item to get away. You've got to hope that somehow you can get away after playing this trick on the enemy and they don't focus you down and destroy you because you've got low health. But his unique ability that makes him good while he is awkward is Mob Commander. Now, Mob Commander will increase the firepower of your mobs, right? If you aim it on them like a tractor beam, it will increase their speed and their damage resistance. So they're harder to kill, they've got more attack power, and they move faster. Now that's all brilliant, but again, he's got low health, and he can just be focused down and wiped out for it. So although if they're not paying attention to you, the mobs are almost unkillable, if they focus you, it doesn't matter. But I mean, you know, he's one of them that I like him and I don't like him at the same time. He's awkward. He's always been at the bottom of the list because you need to know him well and have communication of the team to definitely properly use him. But anyway, that's it for the tier list. So as you can see, there's all the vehicles that are in the game at the moment. I've talked them all through for you. Hopefully that makes sense, and now you're sitting somewhere where you're thinking, right, I know what's going on now. Brilliant. I'll get into the new, by the way, ranked season that's about to come out soon. So let's all get in there and let's get that Grandmaster, baby. Me, I would like to. I'm going to try, but chances are, working 6 days a week, I'm not going to have time to actually get the rank that I want. So if I can just get to Masters, I'll be happy. Yeah, you're damn right I'll be working for Grandmaster. I mean, why not? You know, I was in the original test season a long time ago where we was testing out all the different features and everything. Had to be turned off because it wasn't ready and they wanted it to be a whole lot nicer than it is. It is now almost ready and a lot nicer than it was. I mean, that's how things work, isn't it? The rewards look excellent and I look forward to those. So, I'm going to leave you here. If you'd all be so kind as to leave me a like and possibly subscribe, that would be massive to me. I'm a non-profit YouTuber, I do this for fun. I work far too many days a week, which I always say far too many times, and I really appreciate it, guys. If you could at least just give me a like, if you really want to, and I do implore you to do it. Is it implore? I don't know. One of those words. Ask you to do it, maybe? I don't know. Leave a comment. Mention what you like, don't like, or just say thank you for the vid. I appreciate it, guys. Anyway, Hash Eddie out. Thanks, guys.